I'm Sara Shneiderman, and I'm an associate professor jointly appointed here at the School of Public Policy and Global Affairs, as well as the Department of Anthropology, and I am a sociocultural anthropologist. I have worked primarily in South Asia, in Nepal, India, as well as in Tibetan areas of China, and historically I have worked on issues of ethnicity, identity, citizenship, and cross-border migration. And more recently, I have begun working on questions around post-disaster relief, recovery, and reconstruction, as well as disaster preparedness for the future. I've been working in Nepal for over half of my life now, since I was an undergraduate student in anthropology, and was initially very engaged with people's life experiences in rural areas, particularly how they were experiencing rapid development and also coming to identify themselves in circumstances of very rapid political transformation. So I primarily engage in ethnographic research, meaning that I'm embedded with the communities with whom I work on the ground. I speak Nepali, that's the lingua franca, in both Nepal and the areas of India where I work. And I did my doctoral work with one indigenous community who has cross-border populations in both Nepal and India. And I was trying to understand how they constructed livelihoods that relied upon mobility across these nation states, but then also how that shaped their sense of identity and the kinds of claims that they were able to make upon the multiple states in which they live. So from the disciplinary perspective that I come from as an anthropologist, it's really important to build those relationships and have an ethics of engagement. Ideally, research should be an endeavor that we engage in because it has value for the people whom it affects, not only because it creates a certain kind of abstract academic value or because it feeds a kind of larger policy agenda. For me, that's really the purpose of research. And so the only way to do that is by working with community partners. And really from the very outset of a research project, quite often people tend to think about community engagement as something you might do later on in a research process, like when you have a product that you're ready to share. But from the perspective that I come from, it should actually be something that you're doing from the very beginning of research design. I've learned over time, and particularly in this context in Nepal, that without sort of any technical knowledge or understanding of, let's say, both the geological and the structural engineering processes that are behind something like an earthquake and its subsequent reconstruction, it's very difficult to think about social policy. At the same time, I have observed very closely how policy processes that are built primarily on technical knowledge without a good understanding of social and cultural contexts often falter because it's presumed that there's a kind of technical fix that can just be implemented, but that's usually not taking into account the kind of complexity of lives as they're actually lived and why people make the kinds of decisions that they do.